Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Russell is back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. And I had to kind of create a sad episode today because we just got the injury report and a lot of Hawks are going to be out for a while. Atlanta Hawks released injury updates on guys like Kobe and Vic, also Bogey as well. So we now have information on how long these guys will be out and what this means moving forward for the team. Obviously, another year of dealing with a lot of injuries. That's obviously tough for a team that changed their conditioning coach, changed some of the training staff to hope that this wouldn't happen, and then going back and still having these injuries to start the year especially is probably, very disheartening for a team that was trying to build chemistry, trying to build cohesion with what they're trying to do this year. And, you've seen some good things, you've seen some bad things from it. But at the same time, this is also the reality of the game. Injuries happen. And so this is where the Hawks are right now. And now they're going to be looking to try to get through the next month and a half and hope that no other injuries pile on as they go through their NBA season. So let's start with Bogey. Bogey underwent a non-surgical procedure yesterday, and he will be reevaluated in approximately 4 weeks' time. Now, one key thing to remember here is reevaluated means that he will not necessarily be ready to play when 4 weeks hits. It means they will reevaluate his progress, and then they will give us another update on where he is. So he could be out an extra 2 weeks. He could be out another 4 weeks. He could be back the next week. It just depends on what the evaluation says. Obviously, Bogey played in the first game of the season, then did not play again. Obviously, we don't know if this is an injury from the Olympics. We know they didn't play him a lot in the preseason. We don't know if it happened in the first game, but obviously, big for your guy, your sixth man, to not be able to play. Like I said, losing him is tough for sure. And so obviously we will not have Bogey at least till probably December. And that's one thing when I go through these. Some of these guys we will not have till almost up to Christmas. So that'll obviously be tough and a big blow for the Hawks bench and the Hawks team as a whole. One of the guys that Trae Young trusts on the roster will be out for at least a month, and then we'll reevaluate and see how much more time after that he will be out. Finally, got an update on Kobe Buffkin, right shoulder. I'm not going to say that word. Right shoulder injury, same in shoulder that he injured in the summer league. He's began treatment and really, and started rehab. He will be reevaluated in approximately 4 weeks. So he will also be out at least 4 weeks. Again, reevaluated means they'll reevaluate, doesn't mean he'll return. Could be out again, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that reevaluation. But obviously, there was one thing about his treatment where they were talking about if he had multiple options he could go down in terms of what he does for his shoulder. Seems like they've gone with the treatment and rehab route. Makes you wonder if surgery was on the table. Something to keep an eye on even when he comes back. But maybe this is an injury where they said you can rehab and you should be fine. You won't need the surgery. But then obviously some people may feel like the surgery could be better because then I guess you can say you're fixing the problem. And then just rehabbing from that, but he'd probably be out, I would assume, longer. So obviously you would not have your backup point guard for at least another month and a half as well. Then Dyson Daniels apparently sustained a right hip flexor strain during last night's game. He'll be out for Wednesday's game against Washington and will continue to receive treatment. His status is day to day. So obviously that is an injury. When you hear day to day, there's no timetable. He could be back Friday, but he might not be back till next Monday. I mean, there is no timetable. They just don't believe it's something that they could say, oh, yeah, he'll be out for a whole week. They think maybe we can get him back in the next couple of games. Dyson finished that game, so maybe it's something he played through a little bit during that game. So obviously he's been such a blessing on the defensive end of the ball for the Hawks. Losing him obviously is tough. It's tough, but, they'll have to go into Washington's game and hope they can win without Dyson tomorrow as well. And then Vic Krejci also sustained an injury, as you saw in that first half. Sustained an injury, missed the rest of the game. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So that means that might be a shorter timetable. So midway through November, Vic Krejci will be reevaluated and be given an update on how much longer he'll be out or when he can return. So that obviously is unideal for sure. So for tomorrow's game, obviously those guys are out, and DeAndre Hunter is still questionable with right knee inflammation. They say there is a chance he'll be back tomorrow, which they really do need him back tomorrow, especially with the status of their roster, the injuries that they have, things of that nature. So that's something they'll definitely keep an eye on. Where I guess DeAndre Hunter right now is becoming a really important player for them to get back and ready to go for the game. So obviously something to look at there. So, I mean, like I said, it sucks that the Hawks are dealing with all these injuries right now. It really does. Right now, your situation roster-wise, you only have 3 guards on your roster. Garrison Matthews, Keaton Wallace, and Trae Young that are healthy, right? You're going to probably have to trust Keaton with a little bit more minutes tomorrow. You're going to have to probably hope he can hold up. Obviously, he's a guy who's worked hard to get that 2-way deal. So, obviously, he knows the task at hand. He knows what's ahead of him. So, we'll see how he does playing extended NBA minutes. Obviously, we don't know how many NBA minutes he'll play. I know Vic Krejci, they were giving him around almost 15 a game. So, it'll be interesting to see if they trust Keaton to play more. But I also could see Trae playing whole quarters because of this. I mean, it sucks because Trae has been playing a lot of minutes anyway because of the backup point guard situation. And now with the injuries to Vic Krejci, like I said, Keaton Wallace is all you got. So we'll have to see how they handle that. And then even with the positioning of the roster, Seth Lundy is not ready to go. So he can't be called up from G League. And Barlow really doesn't help you because your center position is your most healthiest position. So right now, if they're the Hawks, you potentially are running let's say top 8 guys are Trae. Garrison's probably going to get the start tomorrow. If Hunter comes back, Hunter will start. Jalen, Clint. Honestly, that's fine. But you get to the bench, you're going to Keaton Wallace. I guess your backup 2 is, I guess you're putting Richeche there. Richeche maybe placed in backup 2. That's all I can think of. Do you play Devin Rodney yet too? You don't really have a backup 2 for Garrison. So, but then Richeche is usually backup 3. So, do you put Richeche at 2, Devin Rodney at 3, or vice versa? Switch those 2 guys, and then your 4. They've usually just had DeAndre or they've had Richeche play 4. Is this a situation where you play Larry Nance? Is this a situation where you play Muhammad Gay at that backup 4 spot? Because if Richeche has to potentially play 3 and 2 minutes, even like the thing is you have to find people to fill in for those 2 and 3 minutes, but they may still try to figure out a way. Obviously, when Garrison's on the floor, maybe probably to have Rodney or Richeche play 4. I could see them going that route and, going Trae, Garrison, Hunter, and then Richeche, and that's your 4. And then, you got Clint starting at the 5. So, because center position is your healthiest position. So that's not really the concern. If Hunter's not out, now you're like, all right, now you're having to start Richeche. You're having to start Garrison Matthews. The only wing you have left pretty much is this Devin Rodney. And so, again, you're going to have to make some tough and some tight decisions. And so I think that in and of itself will be interesting to see how the Hawks navigate that. And the thing is, too, if Hunter comes back, it's going to be great for depth reasons. Because then if he gets back and then Dyson gets back, let's say Friday, let's say he misses a game. Now you're like, all right, you're kind of more backish to normal-ish. Because now you can put Garrison back in there. You basically have your regular starting lineup. And then you can put Richeche back on the bench. You can put Garrison has been played well these last 2 games, so there's some trust there for sure. David Rodney's give you some good minutes. And then, like I said, you just have to figure out a backup point guard position. Obviously, again, the Cody Zeller situation continues to loom over this team. Don't know what the situation is there. Don't know what the status is with that. I don't know if the injuries will make this team maybe want Cody to make a decision. Is it Cody potentially wanting to wait? And that's why no moves have been made. You really don't want a situation where you have a player who you're not going to play for you taking a roster spot. And that's what's tough about it. Because obviously, if they were able to get off Cody Zeller, they could go pick a guy up, bring him in. I'm a big fan of Lonnie Walker. I think he'd be great for what we need for the depth reason. But we don't know who they may look at. They may just want to bring in a guy. They can do that too. So, like I said, it's tough to kind of see the injuries and see what's going on right now with the squad. Because like I said, it's just like I said, you made changes to the training staff, conditioning, and you still have injuries. You still have a lot of injuries so quickly in the year. It puts you behind the 8 ball. And so now you're having to basically, and you're getting into your tough part of the schedule. You're getting into some good teams. You're not playing cupcakes and trying to beat those guys. You're playing some really good teams coming up. You're playing Boston. You're playing the Pelicans. You're playing the Knicks. You're playing the Kings. Those are teams that you will be playing after Washington. I mean, yeah. So you're playing Kings, Pelicans, Celtics, Knicks, obviously Pistons, Bulls, Celtics. I mean, right now the way the roster is constructed, I mean, you could go 0-4, and that's just based off health. That's not even based off because you're not good enough as a team. And so, Dyson getting back as soon as possible is going to be huge. DeAndre getting back and staying in the lineup is going to be huge. If that can happen to get him through this stretch of time. Obviously, Vic Krejci will be the first guy outside of those guys to get back, which will obviously help. And then you're back where you kind of were you started. So then you're back where you started, which is fine. It's just right now with all the injuries, it's not helping the situation. It's putting you in a pretty tight situation that you're going to have to figure out. Quinn Snyder's going to have to figure out rotations. He's going to have to figure out, how do I not overextend Jalen and Trey, who obviously need them both to play well together as well. It's something I know a lot of Hawks fans are waiting for both of them to have a good game together. So there's a lot of things that we have to look into and evaluate with this decision and with what's going on with the Atlanta Hawks. And like I said, you probably, like, basically the fact is you won't see this team unless there's no other injuries at full strength till Christmas, almost Christmas, which is tough because that's almost the first quarter of the season's over with. And so you got to hope you're still in a decent position, because I think this team would be good enough to probably play in, and then maybe you go on a run once you get everybody in. And then again, you're still having to get cohesion, get chemistry, because these guys have not played. Kobe has not played, but he has only played one game. So they're having to get acclimated to what's going on. So, and like I said, biggest thing right now is you just have to hope to God you have no other injuries. You have to hope to God. Because again, Kongu sat out last game because of toe management. I mean, maybe he's not playing back-to-backs. Well, next week you have a back-to-back with Boston, the Pelicans. Does Okongwu miss a game? I mean, obviously, if Larry Nance, who came in and played very well against the Wizards, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, we add another guy to the list, you add another person to the list. So it'll be interesting to kind of see, like I said, how the Hawks navigate through this, figuring out what's going to happen with the Cody Zeller situation, and then trying to obviously field a product on the floor that you may think can still be able to win you some games and keep you afloat. I mean, at this point, you're just trying to stay afloat until you get some bodies back. And, obviously we'll have to see how that goes and see if the Hawks can continue to, navigate through these rash of injuries that are happening at a very crappy time. Obviously, a rash of injuries at any time is not great, but, especially right now, beginning of the season, it's not ideal. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Give me your thoughts on the injury situation for the Atlanta Hawks. What's going on? How do you think this team's going to respond? And we'll just kind of go from there. Obviously, we will be back with Believe in the Hawks after the Wizards game tomorrow. So obviously come back to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe, like the video, audio listeners as well. Leave a rating, leave us 5 stars on the podcast on that regard. So we'll have to see what happens, guys. But like I said, big injury situation going on in Atlanta. Hawks have to figure things out. We'll have to see how things go. But I think that's all we have here for Believe in Hawks episode. It's your boy Bryce Lewis. See you next time. In the booth.